Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning, reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 19, text number 14. Where are you guys now?
Same place, Prabhu. Pico Rivera.
Pico Rivera.
Yes, Prabhu.
It's near, where is that near?
Near temple. 30 minutes from the temple.
LA Temple?
Yes, Prabhu.
Oh, okay. Cool. Okay, you ready? You guys got it? Tasyaiva megasya paravaresho vyasakta chittasya grihesva bhiksham nirvedamulo dvijasaparupo yatra prashakto vayam asudate tasyaiva megasya paravaresho vyasakta chittasya grihesva bhiksham nirvedamulo dvijasaparupo yatra prashakto vayam asudate tasyaiva megasya paravaresho vyasakta chittasya grihesva bhiksham nirvedamulo dvijasaparupo yatra prashakto vayam asudate.
Tasyaiva megasya paravaresho
vyasakta chittasya grihesva bhiksham nirvedamulo dvijasaparupo yatra prashakto vayam asudate. That was Tim's first time. Pretty good, Tim, like a pro. We could turn that off now. I think it's warmed up in here now. Tasya, his, eva, certainly, may, mine, aghastya, of the sinful. I think it's still on. When that light goes off, then it's off. Para, transcendental. Avara, mundane. Isha, controller. The Supreme Lord. Vyasakta, overly attached. Chittasya, of the mind. Griheshu, family affairs. Abhikshnam, always. Nirvedamula, the source of detachment. Dvijasakta, cursing by the Brahmana. Rupa, form of. Yatra, whereupon. Prashakta, one who is affected. Bhayam, fearfulness. Ashu, very soon. Date, take place. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the controller of both the transcendental and mundane worlds, has graciously overtaken me in the form of a Brahmana's curse. Interesting, he says graciously. Due to my being too much attached to family life, the Lord, in order to save me, has appeared before me in such a way that only out of fear I will detach myself from the world. Purport. Brigid Maharaj, although born in a family of great devotees, the Pandavas, and although securely trained in transcendental attachment for the association of the Lord, still found the allurement of mundane family life so strong that he had to be detached by a plan of the Lord. There's that verse, Yasyaham Muruganami Hirishitadhanam Shanai. To show special mercy to my devotee, I take everything away. Well, he really is taking everything away here. Such direct action is taken by the Lord in the case of a special devotee. Maharaj Brigid could understand this by the presence of the topmost transcendentalists in the universe. The Lord resides with his devotees, and therefore the presence of the great saints indicated the presence of the Lord. The king therefore welcomed the presence of the great rishis as a mark of favor of the Supreme Lord. Om Vijaya Tamadandasya Ginandana Samapya Chaksham Litumdina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukham Kurtulachalan Pangunan Haite Garim Yatkipata Raham Bande Shri Guram Vinataranam Vanchakapati Vishakya Pasan Dev Chapatitanam Bhagavatam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Vaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. I beg for the blessings of all the Vaishnavas that I could say something appropriate, truthful, pleasing, and beneficial. So here, we're hearing how Parikshit Maharaj is taking shelter of Krishna because of the circumstance, the unusual, very unusual circumstance, being cursed by a Brahmana. So this this knowledge that we're being given here by Krishna, by Srila Prabhupada, is so valuable. Prabhupada says in one purport that one should be captured by this knowledge. And it's pretty amazing knowledge that we're receiving. And an intelligent person will be captured, and therefore many people have become captured by this knowledge and taken to Krishna consciousness. Because as in the Bhagavad Gita, there's a chapter there, the most confidential knowledge. There's so much knowledge around the world, isn't it? So many universities, so many books, millions of books. But Krishna gives us the most confidential knowledge. Knowledge of the soul, knowledge of devotional service, knowledge of devotees. So Prabhupada, he presented this philosophy so nicely that literally thousands of people became captured by this knowledge and literally gave their lives. They gave up everything they were doing and just took to Krishna consciousness. There was devotees in medical school that just gave it up and joined the Hare Krishna movement. It's like, that's amazing. I mean, some of the parents are pretty upset about this. And there's some places, like in India, where devotees aren't allowed to preach because they were convincing so many students to just give it all up and join the Hare Krishna movement. Parents are getting pretty upset. Like, I sent my child to your school and now he's become a Hare Krishna. So this is the mercy of Prabhupada. So what Prabhupada did with his intense sincerity is he created faith in people. There's this statement, Adao Shraddha Tata Sadhu, Sangata Bhajanakriya, Tatonarta Nritis, Tatonishta Rachista. In the beginning, there's some faith. And quite often, that faith has come up by hearing. And therefore, Prabhupada said, our most important activity in this Krishna consciousness movement is distributing books. Because from knowledge comes understanding. So he emphasized this so much. So Adao Shraddha. Shraddha is so important. Sometimes people say, it's just blind faith. But no, we have very substantial knowledge that's come down for centuries, thousands of years. So it's not blind faith, but there's blind faith and there's blind doubt. Sometimes people doubt the existence of God blindly, without investigation. What did Socrates said? A life that is not examined is a life not worth living. I tell that to people on book distribution. It's a good one. It's a good line. So this book will help you examine life. So there's preliminary faith. People also get faith just by seeing devotees doing good things, like we distribute prasadam. People see us on Harinam, also they like that. They like to see people singing and dancing. So these are other ways they can get some preliminary faith. Adasha Chitta Sadhu, and from that faith, one gets association with devotees. And it's very interesting here, the last sentence, or the second to the last sentence. Prabhupada says, the Lord resides with his devotees, and therefore the presence of the great saints indicated the presence of the Lord. Very interesting. Wherever there's great devotees, Krishna is there. And therefore it's stated, Naham Tishtami Vaikunte Yoginam Hridiye Siva Tatta Tishtami Nara Yatra Gayanti Madbhakta. And Krishna says, I'm not in Vaikunta, I'm not in the hearts of the yogis, but I am wherever my devotees are spreading my glories. So wherever there's great devotees, sincere people want to go there. And therefore, wherever Prabhupada would go, when he would travel, devotees would hear Prabhupada's plans and they would throng. It's like when Prabhupada went to Atlanta. He was in Miami and then he went to Atlanta, and devotees all around the area, they heard, so they thronged to that area, to that temple. And Prabhupada said, this is the best temple. Now, no one told him that devotees had come from all over but it was packed full. And it's interesting and it was all brahmacharis. So one devotee said, Prabhupada, what pleases you the most? Nirantar, Prabhu asked. And they were all, it was all book distributor brahmacharis, and everybody's anticipating book distribution. Prabhupada didn't say that. What did he say?
We love Krishna.
That you love Krishna. That you love Krishna. So this is what is most important, that we develop our love for Krishna, and that begins with service. I had an interesting experience this morning. I went into the kitchen and we forgot to clean the pots. So I thought, well, let me just clean it. Otherwise, it's just going to sit here all morning long. So I cleaned the pots. And we all forgot. So, and that was before my japa. But then I chanted my japa, and it was the best japa I've chanted in a long time. Service. is so important. That that service attitude, just like that amazing pastime of this one professor that wanted to see Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told the devotees, tell him to go wash some pots. He's a big professor. So he said, all right. He was a humble person. So he said, all right, he went in some washing pots. And then after he washed the pots, he said, no, actually I don't need to ask. The answer came. So by service, the understanding of the Krishna consciousness develops. Therefore, service is so important. And yeah, this is, and what, I have a question, what is the most important service? Now, Prabhupada said the most important service many times is book distribution. But actually what is most important is to hear. Shravanam, kirtanam. From hearing, as I said, comes understanding. Then we want to repeat. So to hear very nicely, like Prabhupada, he always wanted to hear Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And even there was one instance, they were at a yatra, and devotees can go to some holy place or they can stay and hear. And only a few stayed to hear because it wasn't easy to understand his preaching. But Prabhupada stayed, even though he couldn't understand very much. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he marked him. This person likes to hear. So we should hear. Even though it's the marathon, we should still hear. This is our juice in life. This is what inspires us. So here in this verse, the first verse here in the purport, Maharaj Parikshit, although born in a family of great devotees, the Pandavas, and although securely trained in transcendental attachment for the association of Lord, still found the allurement of mundane family life so strong that he had to be detached by a plan of the Lord. So he was very attached to Krishna. He was attached to serving Krishna. And this is actually the goal of life, is to become attached to devotional service, to somehow or other. Even though we're in this Kali Yuga, the modes of nature are very thick. Some of you might have noticed, especially the mode of ignorance and passion, very thick. So therefore we have to really pray to Krishna to become attached to Krishna. Actually, Prabhupada said that the two reasons why it's difficult to attain love for Krishna is we have to be attached to Krishna. That's the first one. We have to learn to become attached to Krishna. Every moment we get an opportunity, we should hear about Krishna. And the other reason why it's difficult to attain love for Krishna is Krishna simply doesn't give it easily. Because Krishna, he's conquered and overwhelmed by pure love and devotion. So he's not going to be conquered and overwhelmed by just anybody. He wants to see this person is serious. So we should pray for this seriousness so that we can achieve this most desired pure devotional service, which is the goal of life, is to engage in pure service. And when we're chanting Hare Krishna, this is what we're praying for: pure service. Freedom of service to Maya and sincere service to Krishna. Now in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, he says, Vita Raga Bhaya Kora Manmaya Mamapashrita Bhavo Gyanatapasa Putamad Bhavamagata being freed from attachment. So here Krishna says that we want to be free of attachment. But attachment to what? We want to be free of attachment to matter. Like here in this verse, Prahlad Maharaj, he says, because of his being too much attached to family life. Of course, he wasn't attached. He was a pure devotee, but this is his humility. He's saying he was attached, but practically in the material world, everybody's attached to especially to family life. And even there's many religious people, they're very religious, but they're attached to family life. You know, the man is attached to girl's attached to boy. This is the main attachment in the material world. And pungsakstriyame bhavmetam tayormito hirgantima atogriyak setu satakavita janashimo hoyam mahameti. That the basic principle of material existence is this attachment between male and female. And on the basis of this misunderstanding, one becomes very attached to land, to home, to family, to relatives. Thus, in increasing life's illusions, they become very attached to money. Money is a big thing. And of course, sense gratification. So this is the big hurdle that one has to cross over. But Krishna is very attractive. So although the Maya is so powerful, Krishna is the most attractive. So attractive that one can become free of even sex desire. There was one devotee given a class at a university. He was speaking against sex at a university. And one person afterwards, he went up to the devotee and he said, you know, anybody that's speaking against sex in this day and age must have something very, very valuable. And it's true. This is higher. This is the highest. To have love for Krishna, there's nothing higher. So vitaraga, being freed from attachment, fear. Now here also it's mentioned, he mentions fear. He says, out of fear, I will become detached from this world. Actually, this is again his humility. It wasn't out of fear. He says that due to my being too much attached to family life, the Lord, in order to save me, has appeared before me in such a way that only out of fear I will detach myself from the world. No. He detached himself from the world because of his purity, but this is the humility of a devotee. But fear is what are the things that people fear the most? What do you think are the things that people fear the most? Death. That's what people fear the most, and therefore there's so many hospitals and there's so many medicines and there's so many ways people are trying to avoid death. You got seat belts and all kinds of ways to. It's like they have houses built for children so they don't hurt themselves, babies, because they can easily hurt themselves. So death is the main one. What's another one? Unemployment. Yeah, people fear losing their jobs. Yeah, a lot of people lose their jobs. I was on book distribution a couple of days ago. I showed the book to a person. He asked for a donation. He said, "Nah, I lost my job. Yeah, depressed." Yeah. It can be pretty depressing when people fear it. But another thing that people fear is failure. Failure. failure in school, sometimes students that commit suicide because there's so much stress on getting good grades. India also, isn't it? But Japan is the worst because that means success. You have good grades, that means success. That means money. All about the money, right? So failure. Also, we should also have a fear of failing. Yeah. We're here to advance in Krishna consciousness, and eventually we want to go back home, back to Godhead. And if we don't, that's a failure. To come back again. Actually, Prabhupada says in a purport that the greatest fear of a devotee is to again go into the animal species of life. This is the greatest fear of a devotee. Because animal life is hell. It's just, what did they just eat, sleep, mate, and defend. That's it. Of course, now people, because they're not serious about spiritual life, there's that verse, ahara nidra bayamaitanam cha samanyameta pashabi niranam, that the animals and the human beings, they have four things in common: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And if the human being is only doing these things, then he's no better than an animal. Or as Prabhupada would say that the dog, he's running down the street with his four paws, and the human being is driving down the street with his four wheels. But the mentality, same. I was in Jagannath Puri one time, and it sounded an interesting thing. I was in my room, and there was maybe about 8 dogs, and they were all, fighting, growling and fighting, But one of them defeated the others, and there was one dog that was standing at the side, just watching the show, and that was the female. She was seeing who's gonna win me. So this one dog won, and he walked away with the she girl, the she dog. That's pretty much what it is. The men are all vying for a girl, trying to capture a girl, and one of the guys wins. Isn't it? Some beautiful girl, so many men are trying to get. So this is a dog mentality. But the purpose of having the big brain that the dogs don't have is so that we can inquire. The Tata Brahma Jigyasa. Now is the time to inquire. What is the absolute truth? So this is what people should be inquiring about. But pretty much everybody in the world is inquiring about, where is money? Where is sense gratification? Like animals. So we're trying to get them in the right direction. Now they're going in the wrong direction. So this knowledge puts people in the right direction. Now, one thing that we should fear is we should fear displeasing Krishna. We should fear displeasing Krishna. And we know what is pleasing to Krishna. By the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we know what is pleasing to Krishna, what isn't pleasing to Krishna. Right from the beginning of the day, we know that Krishna likes us to go to Mangalarti. He likes us to chant Hare Krishna. He likes us to take Krishna Prasadam, first offer everything to Krishna. There's so many things that we know are pleasing to Krishna, that we hear, that we regularly hear, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, that we associate with devotees. Sadhu Sangha. This is so important because, as it's mentioned here, it's a very interesting sentence there that Krishna resides where the devotees are, and therefore the most important of these these are the five considered to be the most of the limbs of devotional service. Association with devotees is very important, especially with those who are fixed up in Krishna consciousness. It's like we have so many devotees now. I recently listened to this really nice class by Radhika Raman Prabhu. He's like, he's very fixed up in Krishna consciousness. And here's an example of someone who's a householder, has children, wife, he works, but his understanding of Krishna consciousness is just like very, very nice. You know, Vaisesika Maharaj, and you got Keshava Swami, so many devotees that are taking very seriously Krishna consciousness. And by association with these devotees, we also experience the presence of Krishna. And by hearing such devotees, we also can advance in Krishna consciousness. So Krishna says, Vita Raga Boya Krodha. So we know that we can become attached to Krishna. This is very auspicious. If we fear displeasing Krishna, that's very auspicious. Now, then there's anger. Now, how can we use anger in the service of Krishna? Well, we have Hanuman. Hanuman, he's a great Vaishnava. He was the best at serving Lord Ram. We have these different services, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevam. So he was the best at service. And he was so attached to Lord Ram. But what did he do? He uses his anger in the service of Ram. And boy, did he get angry. Practically destroyed the whole city of Lanka. What's another example of how we could use anger in the service of Krishna? We could get angry at ourselves for not taking seriously Krishna consciousness. What do you think of that? Yeah. Any other ideas about anger from our internet? Any other ways that would use anger in the service of Krishna?
We could
become
angry if someone blasphemes devotees.
Yes. Yeah, it's actually mentioned that if someone blasphemes Krishna or a devotee, then there's three things that we should do. We should either leave immediately, we should cut out his tongue and then kill him, not suggested. And the other one is then we also give up our life. So it's highly suggested and recommended that we just leave immediately, not the other two. And sometimes it happens on book distribution that someone will blaspheme Krishna or devotee, and devotees do that. They just leave. Why is it that we do that? Because it can disturb our devotional creeper, actually. If we hear blasphemy, it can disturb our devotional creeper, and we have to be very protective. It's just like a new plant that you put in the ground. It has to be protected. They put little fences around them sometimes, to protect. So this is the Bhakti Lata Bij. So this this Bhakti Lata Bij that we've been given by taking to Krishna consciousness has to be nourished and protected. And this Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed of devotional service, it's nourished by hearing and chanting, and of course by devotional service. This nourishes, this helps the Bhakti Lata Bij grow. Now, to hear offenses, to also to engage in material activities, these things then can disturb our Bhakti Lata Bij. So if we take care of the Bhakti Lata Bij very nicely, then it grows. Just like a plant, if it's taken care of nicely, it grows nicely. So if we hear nicely, if we serve nicely, then this Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed of devotional service, it grows. Was it Brahmanda Brahmatekona Bhagavanji Guru Krishna Prasadika Pai Bhakti Lata Bij? So it's mentioned that that the seed of devotional service becomes a plant, and it grows and it grows, and it grows subtly, so much so that it grows and grows and grows and grows, and it penetrates the universe and takes shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. It's a very subtle plant. So we have to take care of this plant, this transcendental, subtle plant of devotional service. And so I mentioned that the five parts of devotion, most important is Sadhusanga Nam Kirtan, hearing the holy name of Krishna is so important. This is the path of perfection in the age of Kali, is hearing the holy name. Because the name of Krishna and Krishna are non-different. And that the more we hear attentively, then we'll feel the presence of Krishna. Just like when we associate with advanced devotees, we feel the presence of Krishna, isn't it? When we hear very advanced devotees speaking Krishna consciousness, you feel the presence. And this is why devotees wanted to be with Srila Prabhupada. They felt the presence of Krishna because the purity, the pure message of Krishna comes from the pure devotee, and one feels the presence. So Sadhusanga Nam Kirtan, Bhagavat Shravana, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, to hear Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Krishna, and Srimad Bhagavatam is spoken about Krishna. And this is the recommended way to get purified, to be connected to Krishna, to hear nicely. As Prabhupada says in one purport, that if one hears with rapt attention the Srimad Bhagavatam, then one will be able to see Krishna on every page. But to hear with rapt attention, one has to be pure in action. But to be pure in action, one has to be pure in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So it's interesting that to hear with rapt attention is dependent on hearing, on eating, sleeping, mating, and defending properly. So when like Prabhupada, he would always eat alone. There was one instance where a devotee, he wanted to be in the room. Prabhupada's servant, he wanted to be in the room when Prabhupada was eating. So he left the plate on the table, and then he waited at the door And Prabhupada looked up. And the devotee got the message. He paid obeisances and left it up. Prabhupada, it was seva, honoring prasadam. This is, of course, generally when people, non-devotees, they eat, they just they chow down, right? Chow down. But actually, it's actually a service. And devotees in the early days, there was so much respect for prasadam that if they spilled prasadam, they would eat it right off the floor, and sometimes even lick it up off the ground. The Sunday feast, devotees would go around, they would get prasadam out of the trash. There was I'll tell you, there was so much respect for prasadam. A lot of devotees were coming because of prasadam. So Prabhupada heard the devotees were doing that and said, no, don't take prasadam out of the garbage. People won't understand. Of course, it's transcendental, but people see that and go, oh, these Hare Krishnas are pretty far out. So Sadhu Sangha Namkirtan Bhagavat Shravan Mathura Vas, to live in the holy places. So that means, there's many holy places in India, Vrindavan, Mayapur, but also these temples that Prabhupada has established are also holy places. It's like Bhakti Tirtha Swami, he wanted to leave his body in the temple there in Murari Seva. No, not Murari Seva. I forgot the name of the temple. Gita Nagari.
Oh.
He wanted to be the example that to leave one's body at a temple, Prabhupada's temple, is also at the holy place. So you can also go back to God. And I'm sure he did. Such a devotee. And then the last one is Shravana, no, Sadhusanga Namkirtan Bhagavat Shravana Mathurava Sri Mathura Shraddhaya Sevan. And to worship the deity. And Prabhupada said, or actually there's a purport, there's a verse that says that that devotees of the Lord quite often engage in the austerity of approaching others to give them Krishna consciousness. And this is considered to be the highest method of worshiping Krishna. So the best deity worship is to go out and distribute books. Because people are getting an opportunity to hear about Krishna. And quite often, well, maybe not quite often anymore, but it used to be quite often. Now it's not as often. People get a book and they come to the temple. And they see the deities. Now there's, we go to the temple and we worship the Lord and everything, but when someone first comes to the temple, first comes to see Krishna again, it's very pleasing to Krishna to see a fallen soul that has come back to get darshan again, to engage in service again. It's very pleasing to Krishna, actually, to bring new bhaktas to the temple. That's better than making a Rajbhog offering to the Lord. Krishna wants to see us go back to him. That's why he comes. He comes and he speaks the Bhagavad Gita. He's inviting the conditioned souls back to Godhead. So when Krishna sees the conditioned soul finally come back to the temple and get an opportunity to engage in devotional service, he's so pleased. So therefore we should, if possible, if at all possible, dedicate our life to giving this knowledge to others. So is there any question or comment? Yes.
Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the wonderful class. Prabhu, I have a question regarding book distribution. When we go out regularly and Krishna reciprocates, we get good reciprocation from people. They give Lakshmi. Sometimes they don't, but I have a tendency to be proud when Krishna does reciprocate, and I feel myself better than others. So how I can tackle this tendency of being proud?
You're not alone. Mahadbir bhakinisthaistana svarineti manyate. This is the verse. Devotees of the Lord do not think that the services they do are actions under their own control, but they are expressions of Krishna's supreme mercy. Devotees of the Lord do not think that the services they do are actions under their own control, but expressions of Krishna's supreme mercy. So what can we do ourselves? We just make a mess. But with Krishna's mercy, so many things happen. Without his mercy, we just, what can we do? We just, nothing. We can't even speak without Krishna's mercy, isn't it? We can't walk without Krishna. We can't do anything without Krishna's mercy. It's like there was one boxer. He was the best boxer in the world. He used to say, "I am the greatest. I am the greatest." Muhammad Ali. He was a great boxer, but he got that ability by the mercy of Krishna. And then Krishna took it away, and he could barely even walk. I saw him. He got this disease, and he couldn't even walk properly. Any teenager could have come up and beat him because he lost. Krishna took it away. So Krishna could take it away, just like we've had that experience on book distribution. You're doing really good, and then you think, "Oh, I'm doing pretty good now." Krishna takes it away. Have you had that experience?
Yes.
We've all had that experience. "Oh, I'm doing so good now. I got it down. I know how to do this." And then, bam! It's like there was one instance where Bill Krishna Maharaj, he was distributing books at a university. What it was is there was three. He was a brahmachari, and he was the assistant of Satsut Maharaj and Hridayananda Maharaj. So they were going to colleges and preaching. And he would go ahead and he would arrange classes at the university so the these two sannyasis would go and preach. So after he would arrange classes, he would distribute books. And there was one time that he was just, practically everybody was taking a book. And he went up to the two sannyasis and he said, "I can distribute a book to anybody." And the two sannyasis said, "Oh, really? Let's see." And he couldn't get anybody to even stop. Krishna took it away. See, he thought, I could distribute a book to anybody. He thought he was the doer. He was doing it. And Krishna just took it away. In 2 hours, he couldn't distribute one book. But just before that, so many people were taken. So that was very humbling. And then he understood. It's Krishna. It's Krishna. As we quite often understand also on book distribution, it's Krishna. So yeah, we had to always understand that without Krishna's mercy, can't do anything. And sometimes it takes we gotta get humbled. We have to, Krishna gives us the humble pie, and we forget that it's Krishna, and then Krishna, he reminds us, "Hey, don't forget it. It's not you. Remember, it's not you." So hopefully it gets through our thick skull that it's Krishna, it's not us. Right? Sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes it takes a few years. Sometimes it takes lifetimes. So.
Sorry, what is that verse?
Thank you.
You're welcome. It starts, I have it in my book, Mahadbir. Mahad. M-A-H-A-D. Mahadbir. B-H-I-R, I think. Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His Grace Vijaya Prabhu.
Vijaya.